Welcome everyone to the December 28th, 2020 Grafton Board of Health meeting. As a preliminary matter, this is Karen Gwiazdowski-Govin, Chair of the Board of Health. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Finn.
Dan Finn here.
Austin Magnet.
Austin Magnet is here.
Josh Briggs.
Josh Briggs here.
Bill Muller.
Bill Muller's here.
And then staff and anticipated speakers on the agenda. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Nancy Connors, which I just said she's going to be a few minutes late when she logs back on. Julie Van Arsdalen from the Alliance.
I'm here.
And then Danielle Edmonds from the Alliance.
I'm here.
Good evening, ladies. Thanks for joining us. Hope you had a nice holiday. All right, so I'd like to open the meeting. Can I get a motion to open the meeting? And as a reminder, state your name when you make the motions. That way everyone, in case they're not able to actually see who's speaking.
This is Dan Finn. I'd like to make a motion to open this meeting.
And then a second.
Austin Magnet, I'll second that motion to open the meeting.
All right, and then we'll do a roll call vote. Please, I'll call the name and then respond in the affirmative or negative, depending on. So Dan Finn.
Dan Finn, aye.
Austin Magnet.
Magnet, aye.
Josh Briggs.
Josh Briggs, aye.
Bill Muller.
Bill Muller, aye.
And then Karen Gwiazdowski-Govin, aye. So good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Grafton Board of Health is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website at www.grafton-mass.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening's meeting. For this evening's meeting, the Grafton Board of Health is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that you take care not to screen share your computer because, as I'm sure you are, anything that you broadcast may be captured by said recording that's happening. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise for any additional topics or discussions. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, I just want to cover a few quick ground rules for the conduct of our business, and so we can also, of course, ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce any speaker on the agenda after any remarks by the speaker. Any of the members who want to either provide any comments or have any questions or make any motions as such, please, do so. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. And then, of course, speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. For any response, please wait until I, the chair, yields the floor to you and then state your name before speaking. If any members wish to engage with other members of the board, please do so through me, the chair, taking care to identify yourself. And then finally, each vote, if there are any in this evening's meeting, will be conducted by roll call vote. So let me just see if Nancy's on before we jump. Doesn't look like she's on yet. So we'll get started. So the first topic on the agenda is the Alliance updates. So no, Julie, Danielle, who's going to go through those?
I know that the Central Mass Regional Public Health Alliance update was submitted at the beginning of December to all of the Board of Health members. So if you have any further questions regarding that, you can feel free to ask. Really, as far as updates go, we really don't have as much as I'd like to share right now because, again, we just had a meeting, I believe it was last week. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Members, anyone have any questions? No? All right. I'll take that as a no. So we will jump down to the big topic that is obviously top of mind for everyone, which is the COVID-19 updates. Just the usual case count side of the world first. As of today, December 28th, Grafton's been informed of a total of 553 confirmed positive COVID-19 cases, and that's the running total since cases first started getting counted. We as a town are still, as of last week's weekly report at the state level, so on Christmas Eve, we're still at a red or a high risk status, as are a whole large amount of communities in the surrounding area and across the state. And as we're all very well aware, the cases continue to rise across not only, say, Central Mass, but the state in general, and then the country and other parts of the world. I know that many folks in government and public health are, of course, concerned, rightfully so, that given the numbers of individuals that they saw traveling over the Christmas holiday season, similar to Thanksgiving, that will potentially have and likely have another kind of surge, as they call it, as a result of Christmas travel and whatever gatherings happened similar to Thanksgiving. Unfortunately. So besides the rollback that we discussed that the state did back at the beginning of December or earlier in December, where they rolled the whole state back to phase 3, step 1, and then also instituted a number of additional restrictions. They also at the state level put some temporary restrictions in place that went into effect on December 26th. And those will be in effect until at least noon of January 10th. Obviously, it's too soon to say whether they'll extend that, but I know the governor explicitly stated at least noon of January 10th. So there's a large amount of venues, restaurants, performance venues, office places, places of worship, retail, etc., that had to go to a maximum of 25% of their customer capacity. Some of those types of businesses did not have a actual percent of customer capacity prior to these temporary restrictions. And they did note that workers and staff are excluded from an event like that type of space occupancy count. But they, did state that all indoor gatherings and events will be limited to 10 people. So, and that's not just the previous, say, private gathering had to be 10 indoors type of situation. Now it's saying all indoor gatherings and events will be limited to 10 people. Outdoor gathering and events will be limited to 25 people. So that's where, these type of occupancy counts matter. If you're a business that's having a small gathering, if you can imagine, say, a 10-person event, if you had to include 3 people's staff on top of that, you have 7 people there. So there's obviously more details than the high-level summary, but those gathering limits are private homes, their event venues, their public spaces. The other big call out was that Massachusetts hospitals have to push back or cancel any, typically most, there's a few caveats to it, elective inpatient invasive procedures if they're non-essential. So obviously if they're something that's life-saving or critical, then those, it sounds like, can continue. So that was the biggest part of that temporary restriction, were those big call-outs that the governor had mentioned. The other big part of it is the continued talks about the vaccine rollout. And, we've already seen it in the news. I'm sure everyone's seen it, where hospitals have been now vaccinating their staff, and now the long-term care facilities have started. And then there's been discussions around, the first responders. And then there's been a bunch of back and forth. I know within Grafton, the Alliance, and then obviously all sorts of communities within the state about how best to address that. The latest I've seen, Dan, obviously, you've been the one kind of helping lead the charge on more of the vaccine side of the world with trying to dig through the different email trails that we've been seeing, is that Grafton's going to be working with the Alliance to get part of kind of their EDS side of the world for the first responders. So that would be, say, fire, police. Dan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, this is Dan Finn. I just want to mention, there was some confusion and miscommunications there, but I think Karen Clark has it kind of straightened out in a recent email from this afternoon, and she's going to get around to everybody this evening or tomorrow spelling it out. But it looks like we're going to be working with the Alliance, which makes sense to me. And but anyway, it's coming together.
Yeah, and I know it's all been kind of, we'll call it fast and furious, because I think as of the last meeting we had, at that point, I think Karen Clark had said that everyone was still trying to figure out, even at the state level, what potentially local board of health responsibility or role would even be. And we're talking that was early to mid-December, and now, surprise, obviously we're all in this. But as of earlier in the month, we honestly had no idea yet what we could be doing or even should be doing. So, like everything, it's kind of figuring it out as we go. If the state reaches out and says, this is what we want to do. And I know I had heard that the state, rightfully so, wanted to kind of try to regionalize as much as possible the vaccine, because as we've heard with the Pfizer, especially, the Moderna, not as bad, but the logistics for transporting and storing and all of that, I don't blame the state for wanting to not have it be like individual communities receiving allotments of 10, 20, whatever vaccines, and then some of these places not knowing how they're going to store it, obviously. So even from a state perspective, just trying to get it out to over 300 communities doesn't seem very feasible, considering how quick the turnaround time is to try to figure all this out.
Yep, and just again, I guess the next step is to have the town and Carter review the agreement that's necessary with the Alliance and the state, and that'll be coming shortly, I believe, to him.
All right. Other board members, any questions so far on the COVID updates, the restrictions, the vaccine thus far that we know of?
None from me.
No.
Julie, Danielle, anything? Did I miss anything? Anything to add? All right, thank you. And then just my plug for citizens and businesses who, may be watching, listening, or hearing about the meetings. Just, keep in mind about the mask order, continue to social distance, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, reduce your gatherings or have no gatherings at all if possible. And then the whole host of business restrictions that the businesses continue to need to comply with, which seems to be sometimes a moving target, unfortunately. So just the plug to continue pushing along, and we'll get through this. Dan?
Karen, just one other thing. I have a question for Danielle. While the Alliance is still represented here on her inspections, we got a list of them, and it looks like the complaints, housing complaints and things were resolved and pretty much closed, cases closed. And on the 6 inspections, were there any issues there that stand out in terms of lack of compliance?
Hi, Dan. No, in regards to the inspections I did, everyone really was in compliance. I know it says listed there specifically that I did do a COVID compliance check for one establishment, but that was because they did have a case and they had to shut down and clean. So we just wanted to kind of be on the same page with, what they were doing for their employees, making sure that, they're doing daily checks, doing proper cleanings, what have you. But no, I'm pretty impressed with all of the establishments
Okay, great.
I
Thank you.
visited lately. So
Thanks.
Nancy, did you join us?
I did. Can you hear me?
Yep. All right.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard the part about, I know you're on the email from Karen Clark about the COVID vaccine for first responders. So
Right.
I guess the next step, purely from getting back to the fire department, would be to respond back to Cheryl with the clarification that we received. Obviously, as more information comes from Karen Clark, whatever needs to get over to the fire department, et cetera, from a coordination perspective, can get passed
So
along.
at this point, they're not allowed to go to another town, correct?
Correct. From what I saw, it sounds like Grafton's already part of the Worcester, the Alliance EDS.
Okay. All right.
All right. So next, there's nothing further on the actual COVID updates. Dan, I'm just looking at the other topics and whether the Alliance needs to stick around or not. Dan, do you think the Alliance, Julie, Danielle needs to be here for either the mask campaign or the EDS drill, or you think?
No, I don't think so, personally. I'm going to forward information about the EDS drill plan and date to them probably tomorrow. So,
Have we picked a date for the EDS drill yet?
yeah, just to jump ahead a little bit, we had a discussion the other day with a Zoom with some of the folks that are helping us out, and that being Jamie Terry, Forrest, and of course, Marianne DeFries and Pam from CERT and Chief Crapo, and Julie was there too. And we're shooting for the 16th, a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, and I might as well go through the whole piece here. Shooting for a drive-through version of it, and I'm going to try to get together with Bill and Marianne ahead of time to look at supplies and necessary things. So I'll have one more quick meeting before we do that. But if you want to pencil in, Justin, the 16th with maybe a snow date of the 23rd, and it would be in front of the high school, mostly in the parking lot.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I have to work that day, but I might be able to work around our schedule going late.
Sure. But other than that, I don't know that the Alliance has to delay their supper. Those folks have to delay their supper any longer tonight, in my opinion.
Yep, that's fine with me. Anything else, Julie or Danielle, or gain some time back? All right, so feel free if you want to stick on and continue, if you want to jump.
bye, Karen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so the potential Grafton mask campaign and signage. Dan, I know you're the one who's kind of been going back and forth on this primarily. You're on
Did
mute.
you all get the email I sent with the graphics that Sunshine Sign had forwarded to us?
I think we did. And Nancy, I think maybe if you can explain, because I'm not sure about the funding, if they put prices in there and,
No, they did not.
okay.
No.
But we have
This has to be-
some money from was it the CARES Act that we had money still, or?
I think that's going to be spent by the 31st.
Alright.
Uh, Do you all need that email?
Nope, I have it. It was sent on the 21st.
Yeah.
You have it? Okay, then I won't look.
I
for
have it as well.
Okay. We have to decide. I'm sorry, you have to decide what you would like to do so they can give us a price.
Well, if I
If you
can,
want to make up. Go ahead.
if I can jump in again, yeah, I think the most practical one is, a piece of it is having a sign frame type of thing on the door of establishments if they want to have it. And that could be replaced with most current, I mean, they could have initially the Mask Up Grafton poster, but as things change over the next few months, they could insert the most current focus in regard to COVID compliance and all. I don't think we want to put anything on buses, although I don't know.
Well, just remember the buses don't, other than the school, well, even the school buses, the ones, the WRTA doesn't just go to Grafton.
Right.
And I did notice the wording on the draft signs, and I'm sure that's probably older wording from when they first started doing this. The wording is actually would need to be fixed because the wording currently states, and I know it's draft, masks are still required in public places in Massachusetts where social distancing is not possible, which is not the updated mask order. The current mask order is the masks are required in all public places, indoor or outdoor, even when social distancing is possible. So that wording would
Yeah.
need to be corrected before we did anything.
Yeah, this was sent back on it was sent a couple weeks ago because that's when Dan and I met with them.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm sure they would update things like that.
Yeah.
And it's also
Yeah.
another reason it'd be good to have an interchangeable thing as things do change.
Yeah.
And what was I gonna say? And oh, my other question, Nancy, is do you happen to know, or Karen, you may know, if we would have to run any of this by the planning board in terms of signage?
Oh, I will do that tomorrow.
Yeah, if you could check on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I can check on that. Yeah, this is back to December 8th. So it's changed since then.
Yeah, that mask order changed back in November, early November.
Okay, I'll check with planning tomorrow, Dan.
Yep. And did you say we have to make a decision before the end of the year, end of the week? On the,
I believe so.
really?
For the CARES Act, I believe.
Hmm.
I think it has to be spent. There's two different means of funding. I will check with Karen Clark tomorrow. See what the deadline is.
Okay, so I don't know if we can continue this via email. I
We
don't
can't
know.
we can't do
A
an
vote.
actual, vote or anything like that.
Yeah.
Outside of an
No.
open meeting.
Hi, this is Josh talking. I just have a quick question. Are we having a lot of issues of people not wearing masks in Grafton? Is that something that we're really having a problem with that we need to continue? I just feel like everywhere I go, I feel like I'm seeing people with masks. So I just wonder if this is a good use of funds at the moment.
Yep, Dan, or well,
Yeah, I
Nancy.
just wanted to mention that,
Yeah,
and from my
yeah,
point of view,
thanks.
oops. Go ahead, Nancy.
Can't think of some of the complaints. We still are getting complaints about no masks, excuse me, are not wearing them properly. They're not covering their nose. They're hanging below their chin. Quote unquote, what's the point? So we still do get some of those, yes.
Yeah, and I'd be interested in like having no idea what we're talking about for price here.
Right.
There's a difference between it's gonna cost $500 to print up, I don't know, 100 signs, just throwing out a number, versus it's gonna cost $5,000 to print up 100 signs. That's two very drastically different, figures. Not knowing how much funding,
I agree. And Karen, this is Josh again. I agree in that, like you said earlier, the regulations are changing so often that it would be a shame to come out with something this week and then have it be modified next week, and then we're just having out-of-date information. So I just want to make sure we're thinking through the whole process before we make the investment.
Dan?
Yeah, it's a pretty short window we have here, and I think, obviously I agree, I don't think we should be spending money foolishly. And I personally think if Sunshine Sign could come back with a specific, two or three specific things with a specific price tag on them, and if it's reasonable, and as you said, $500 or $1,000 is to me sort of reasonable to get education out there. If again the business owners want to even have that. So there's a few questions. I don't know whether. I guess Nancy, if you could look into the deadline on that money, and there might be, as you said, another source that could go into January before our next meeting on the 11th and try to make a decision if the monies are still available by then. I think that's what I would suggest. Have more concrete information to make a decision with.
Well, because maybe you will not want to go with mask up, like Josh said. I mean, I have to say I've gone into Cumberland Farms and turned around and walked out because I forgot my mask in the car. I'm just so used to wearing it.
Right.
So when I take it off, you just hang it on the visor, but the signs are everywhere. Every establishment.
Yeah, it's hard without a cost.
Right.
Yes.
Let alone taking out which funding, and is there a deadline on the funding? It's hard, because like I was saying, and I'm just throwing out the two numbers, $500 versus $5,000 are two drastically different chunks of change. Or if it's like, oh, well, it's $200, and who knows, maybe also something good to find out would be if something were to change, like let's say as time rolls on here, the mask order goes from the current wording where you have to have them on in public, no matter outdoor, indoor, social distancing, or not. Let's say at some point in time, that's going to roll back to what the mask order was previously, which was public places. But if you're social distancing, you don't. And then so on and so forth, to the point somewhere in the future where maybe we don't have masks at all, which would be a great day. And with that, is there any type of discount? Just thinking,
Right.
On the monetary side, like, okay, let's say we agree to do this for this first run. Hopefully it's, let's say it's the $500 range or something. And then, because we went with them and we would go with them to update the signs, will we get any type of discount for that new print version, shall we say?
Right.
But-
It's worth an ask, just so we know what we're getting into.
Yep, I can do that.
So yeah, I would suggest that we just table this whole proposal until the next meeting at least. And I don't think we need a vote for that. That's just my suggestion. But also, while we're on the subject of signs, Cindy, I'd mentioned that her office kind of determines what messages are on the mobile sign that's at the corner of 122, 140. And I thought at the very least, it might be nice to get a couple of simple messages on there just to remind people to mask up and stop the spread, or a couple of phrases that the state uses. And she said we just have to submit something typed up to them. I don't know what you folks think about that, but that wouldn't cost anything.
That's a good idea. It's a great idea.
Okay.
Have they not been putting messages for masks up on that? I mean, I guess I haven't really
Well,
seen.
now through the holidays, I think they had other things, shop locally and whatever.
Yeah. No, I like that idea a lot. I have one quick question with the signage, Mask Up Grafton signs. If we do go with, say, like a flyer, do we have any idea how many we would need for every business in town, plus the schools or?
I was just thinking back. I used 100, but that was just using that for an example of.
Yeah, could be closer to 500, or 250. I don't even know.
Now, would you want us to ask the businesses, or are we telling them?
I mean, every business pretty much already has a sign up that says "wear a mask."
Correct.
So this would
Correct.
be another sign.
Yeah, I don't think we can force them to use
The specific one.
our Grafton sign,
Okay.
but
It's free.
I can reach out to the food establishments. John Allen, in the planning board, he can reach out to the other businesses. And we can see who would, if you decide to go with this program, who's interested.
How would we
You
deliver?
may get it. No one's allowed in town hall right now.
yeah,
I don't know.
We could mail them out, but that would still be a cost. Somebody have to drive around,
Yeah.
and we could send them with the permits or send them via email, and they could print them themselves. A lot of questions.
So,
yeah.
all right, so if we email, do we need the sign?
We'd still need a template.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you do run not everyone's going to have the ability to necessarily print.
True. Yeah.
Dan?
Yep. I wouldn't doubt that Sunshine Sign would run them around too, but I think we have to get back to the drawing board, so to speak, and check with planning board first, see how, complicated it would be. And then come back to the next meeting with more detailed information.
Okay.
Agreed.
Put it on the back burner, as they say.
While we're on the topic of getting info out to the public, Nancy, I know the Alliance said that they had sent over some public service announcements that could be put up on like local cable access. Did those get sent over to?
Anything that they send me, I put up on either our site, Bob DeToma puts on Facebook. Was this something that was sent very recently?
I thought they mentioned it. I haven't seen anything, but I don't know who they sent them to. I haven't personally seen anything come through on my email, but it sounded like it was something that they sent out maybe sometime in December. And I thought they said it was something that could be put up on cable access. So I'm
Oh,
guessing
okay.
it's some type of video.
Yes, I'm sorry, Bob Toma did put that on Facebook. On the Town of Grafton's Facebook page.
Okay.
I remember talking with him about that, or trying to figure out how to do it, and he did.
Okay.
Board of Health thing? No, I don't have it on there.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like I said, I have no clue what format they're in, how they would even get posted. So.
Right.
Just made me think of it when we were talking about getting stuff. We were talking posted to Windows, but posting made me think of that. Anything else on mass campaign signage before we jump to the next topic? Yeah. Bill?
Yeah, it does seem that you could at least approve the concept of providing some townwide signage for businesses within the whatever the budgetary constraints are. That would at least give you a vote saying you're going to explore moving in that direction. I would think. I mean, I do think that it would be desirable to have something that was kind of a community-based information, just like the things that before Christmas about, shopping locally and things of that sort. And, it becomes kind of a community sort of goal. Obviously, we're at a disadvantage because we don't know exactly what the funding available for it would be. But I think as a concept, I think it's something that's worthy of support.
Great, Dan?
So, Bill, if you want to make a motion like that, I'll second it.
Okay, this is Bill Muller. I would propose that we pursue the possibility of townwide signage within the constraints of whatever budget is available to fund it.
Okay, I'll second that.
All right, roll call vote. Dan Finn,
Dan Finn, aye.
Austin Magnet,
Austin Magnet, aye. Yeah, I like that idea.
Josh Briggs,
Josh Briggs, aye.
Bill Muller,
Yes, I'll support my motion.
and then Karen Gwiazdowski Govin, aye. All right, more to come on that. All right, next up was Maven Access for MRC volunteers.
That's just to update you that Marianne had sent an email out to the volunteers, and she received 4 people who would like to do this, if indeed you go forward with it. It's just
All
an
right.
update on the amount.
All right, so I know we had already voted in the last meeting that we were okay with this, and then it was pretty much, and obviously others correct me if I'm wrong, at this point it was pretty much like if she got any volunteers that were willing and able, and also most importantly able to commit a dedicated amount of time, then we were okay with it.
Yes,
And that's
I
what
had
we'd already
wait, I said-
previously voted on.
Mhm.
All right, so there's nothing that we need to do at this point.
no, I sent it to Pat, but she's just busy and we can't get to all the emails, so I will send it again.
All right. I think we already covered the EDS drill and plan date, at least as of right now. Here's to hoping for good weather. Yep, Dan.
Yep, I just wanted to add, I don't know if Nancy was on, but
Oh, yeah. Might not have been on.
Perhaps not, but we're shooting for the 16th at 10 o'clock at the high school. Still hope to get clearance that that's okay. In the parking lot doing a drive-through drill. And Nancy did send me a number of additional pieces of information with goals. And it's I want to share those with Bill shortly, and then try to get together with both Marianne and Pam ahead of time too, to kind of scope out the plan. The chief did give us an aerial view of the bus route, which he thought was a pretty good idea to start with in terms of traffic flow, going by a couple of tents, but having a registration table, and there are various other stages, including a parking area to have. Again, theoretically, this is a vaccine drill. In that case, it would have people having to wait for 20 minutes before they drive off. So anyway, he's going to give us some more input as well, and there'll be more to come by our next meeting, which happens to be before the 16th. But I'm waiting, I think, until after the first of the year to make sure our ducks are in a row before we have Marianne and Pam at CERT seek out volunteers. I want to make sure that date is not so much in flux and that it's a pretty concrete date before we ask people to put it on their calendars.
Jay Cummings and Mr. Pignataro would have to see if there's anything going on that
Right.
date.
Right. I did reach out to Jay and I haven't heard back yet, but I'll try that again tomorrow.
Then the last discussion topic was the annual license and permit renewals. I know they were all sent out. Obviously, COVID took priority, so they were out later than normal, but so be it. We have to prioritize. We still have the unknown of when they all come back in or start coming back in, how we're going to sign these. I don't know, Nancy, if you know how others are doing this, number one, as boards, committees, et cetera, but also if there's no obvious solution after speaking with those other folks, is there something that the town could use? I know in my work, we use a system called Adobe Sign, DocuSign, I think it used to be called, or something, when we have to send out things electronically to people for signature. I don't know what there's a cost associated to it because it's all set up at a much higher corporate level. But there are systems that exist out there. I just think before we see what to do personally on our own side of as a board, find out what others are doing and is there already a solution and that we could tag on to.
All right. Most of the towns down in the Blackstone Valley that I belong to, they have a health agent right there who will sign it. Now I can send out another email to people who do not have a health agent because, okay, so we've got Danielle and Julie. They can come in and sign, or if something really sticks out at me, like inspection-wise, I can sign, but hold off of the ones that I have an issue with.
Well,
I
guess
don't know.
there's the bigger question of what are other boards and committees within Grafton doing?
Oh, okay.
That's my question. Others must be doing something. Because we're not the only ones with permits. That's a multi-member board or committee. So how are others in Grafton doing this?
The only other department would be planning and building. Oh, you know what?
What about the select board?
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Yes, I was just going to say that. I think Cindy Ide may have a stamp with their signature. I'll check.
This is Austin. I spoke with a member of the Beverly, Mass Board of Health, and they have a system like you were talking about, Karen, with like a DocuSign or Adobe Sign, where they have everything electronically. One person will review. When they sign off on it, it'll go to the next person for them to go in and review it. And then they have to check off that they reviewed it and signed off, and then it'll go to another person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know getting everything scanned into that system is time consuming, and
Yeah, and we all know from the big lovely packets that we get, some of these are like, tiny little paper clips normally where it's got the actual permit that we sign and like one or two other pieces of paper. But even that, think of how many permits we sign.
yeah,
And
hundreds.
not like Nancy has nothing else to worry about right now.
No.
COVID, and that's not going away anytime soon. So it's, plus I'm sure there's a decent expense to using, if the town already doesn't have, say, a license or something with a Adobe Sign, DocuSign system type of thing. And I'm not saying that's the only one out there. It just happens to be the one that my company uses.
Right.
I can imagine it's not cheap, in the grand scheme of things to do that. Plus, there would be that legwork of having to literally scan each piece of paper, some of which are double-sided, into that for each file. So yeah, possible, not the most pleasant sounding thing in the world by any stretch. And
The only other thing, we're kind of late now, I could have everyone email back to me, put everything in a zip file and send it out to you.
How would
But
you
we've already started getting back quite a few.
Dan,
But Karen, would that be, or Nancy, would that be emailing back an actual signature, or just a vote and then having you or someone type our names? I mean, that could be a legal question, but even if we did it by Zoom and voted, I approve, this permit, could someone actually just type our name on there and we'd have a document, have it documented by a Zoom, you know what I mean? Just thinking of some more simple way to do it.
Yeah, somebody would need to sign. You need a signature.
You do, okay.
Can we
So
individually
much for
go
that.
in one day at a time? I'll go in on one day and sign. Somebody else goes in the following
Yeah.
day and signs.
I don't know if you are allowed in the building.
yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you'd have to hand it off outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the stack of papers to your car.
Right, right.
Yeah, I don't know if you're considered personnel. I'll have to check.
Yeah, these are
I
all
have not
thoughts that were going through my mind. Like, if this electronic side of the world doesn't work, how else do we get this done?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it would be
I will
interesting
check with
to
Susan.
hear like what the others that are in this similar type of situation are doing in town.
Okay, I'll send that email out after tonight's meeting.
Especially like if it were ever anything where it's like, okay, Austin goes on Monday, I go on Tuesday or something, like we'd want it, I know personally with work and stuff, we'd want it to be like, because we know that sometimes the permits kind of are like a chunk, then the next meeting there's another chunk, and then 3 meetings later there's the final chunk. Like, I would rather, if I had the time, just even if it is literally sitting in my car with the stack of documents going one by one and signing, I'd rather just blow through, if I have the time, 100 of them,
Yep.
in one full swing. Also from the logistics of having to get them at the building, having to bring them back into the building and all of that, for Nancy's sake.
Yeah.
Not piecemealing it and doing like 15 at a time.
The food permits will always be staggered because we don't even know, for instance, the pools. Why even send that out right now? So I sent an email saying to the people that have the pools and the spas, you can fill it out or you can just wait because we don't know what will happen. Will they be able to open? I don't know. I don't want to take someone's money if they're not going to be allowed to open. But that's up to you.
Dan?
Well, Nancy, we hate to throw something additional back into your lap, but I guess we're going to have to wait to hear from you with what other folks are doing within the town and other boards, maybe in other towns. So sorry about that.
No, I can do that.
And if we do have to go one by one, I don't mind doing that. If we need. I'm sure between the 5 of us, we can get at least three of us down there to sign.
Okay. First, I'll see who's allowed in the building.
Well, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
you know, because it's gone are the days, you know, where it was simple, like, oh, just pop in and
Yeah.
get a permit to sign, who can do it, you know, get enough of us there and we're good. Pre-COVID.
Oh,
All right. Any old or new business?
um,
All right. Mail or correspondence?
I think you've got it all, actually. It wasn't hardly anything
No.
the past 2 weeks.
All right, so then that just leaves upcoming meetings. So January 11th, February 8th, and March 8th.
Right.
All right.
So just one more time, because I really didn't get all of it. What are you doing with the fire department? Am I sending them an email back telling them they need to coordinate with the Alliance?
Well, I think the biggest part of it is there sounds like, yes, they need to, the first responders, fire, police, et cetera, are going to be getting vaccines through the Worcester EDS via the Alliance side of the world. That's been confirmed based on
Right.
Karen Clark's email. What we don't know, so yeah, so I think that's the first thing that needs to get responded back to Cheryl, that clarification's been received. And then I think there's still another, I forgot his name off the top of my head. There was a separate email that had come out.
Runyon, Mr. Runyon.
Yes,
Dave,
yeah,
Dave Arnian.
that was on a separate thread, same topic. But then in terms of how to coordinate with the Alliance, I don't think we know that yet. I think that'll be more within what Karen Clark's email that's supposed to be
Well,
coming
we
in.
don't even know when.
Yeah, we don't know when, we don't know
Yeah.
where, we don't know how. That I think is all still being finalized based on the way it sounded. It was that initial part that she needed to get quickly from folks. Dan, did you?
Yeah, just the end of her email again said that she was going to reach out to all of us, the boards and the town administrators. And so Nancy, to get back to your original question, I think that agreement probably should be forwarded to Carter for review, because it sounds like each of the towns has to have an agreement with the Alliance, and that would be through
Okay.
him. But we'll see what Karen's email says tonight or tomorrow morning. If there's anything different, reach out to us.
But yeah,
And lastly, I guess Steve Bakari had included Grafton Fire and Police in his state plan, but now he has taken Grafton out, so that would take the fire department out.
yeah, because at that time, no one knew that the Alliance piece of the puzzle existed
Right.
because we weren't involved. So we didn't know that. So when the emails came over and the questions started to go around, that's when we started to learn what was actually going on both sides. So at least we have clarification on, yes, they are getting vaccines and who is going to be giving those vaccines. Still have all the other unknown that is probably still all being hashed out in terms of logistics, but at least now we know who and how in general, aka the Alliance versus Westboro.
Okay,
All right, so that's all we had on the agenda. Dan?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting and personally wish everyone a happy new year, 2021.
Dan?
There a second?
Yeah. Beat me to it.
And then roll call vote, Dan Finn,
And say aye.
Austin Magnan,
Austin Magnan, aye.
Josh Briggs,
Josh Briggs, aye.
Bill Muller,
Bill Muller, aye.
Karen Gwiazdowski, Oven, aye.